Electrocast.
Welcome to Tuning In to Sound Wellbeing, the podcast where Amanda, our sound therapy expert, unlocks the healing potential of sound therapy and tuning forks in wellness. I'm Stephen, your co-host, joining Amanda on this journey into the world of frequencies and vibrations. So whether you're a curious learner or a wellness enthusiast, our show offers you fresh insights and practical knowledge. Come with us to uncover the mysteries of sound, embrace new wellness perspectives, and experience the transformative magic of frequencies and vibration. Tuning into Sound Wellbeing is here to harmonise your mind, body, and soul.
Hello everyone, welcome to this very special episode. I am here with a good friend of mine, Bindi Heit. Now, I'm just going to read you her bio, which I have to say is quite impressive. So here we go. Bindi Heit has become a podcast industry leader with over a decade of broadcasting, hosting, and launching talk shows. She's also an award-winning digital communications innovator, narrator, and spiritual coach. Understanding that it all begins with us. As founder of Ethical Change Agency, Bindi works with change makers globally to find their voice through podcasting and spiritual coaching, with a focus on the power of human connection and purpose. Her expertise is highly sought after as a member and mentor of the Podcast Academy, a judge for the Australian Podcast Awards, and network lead for Electrocast Media. Welcome, Bindi.
Wow, she sounds pretty impressive, doesn't she?
I know, and she's a friend of mine, which is great.
You're a friend of mine too, by the way.
Yes, we've known each other for quite a few years now.
I was trying to do the math before.
Yeah, I would say, are we getting up to 7, 6?
Oh,
been a
close.
while.
Getting close, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Time flies.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a chat today, and I've got a few questions for you. So as all our listeners know, we're very much into energy and frequency and vibration. And I know you have a unique way of choosing your podcast guests, and that's all about vibration and energy. So could you just share a bit of your process with us around that?
Now, Amanda, you and I have done podcasts together previously, so you know how far I've come in just the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's like night and day, really, isn't it? So I guess now in 2023, I have a very unique way of choosing guests, and I'm actually writing a book about it.
Oh, wow.
And I do consult on it a little bit, but basically it is tapping in to your intuition. And that is something that you really helped me develop, by the way. Can I just say, I'll give you the kudos on that one.
Thank you.
Now, what I do, or what I've managed to develop, is this ability to just see someone's photo, and to be able to read the energy in that image. And when I say read the energy in that image, I can look at them and I can see whether they have that thing I'm looking for. And And when I'm talking about this, I'm looking through directories of particular people who are actually pitching themselves for podcasts. So those things do exist. So, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people around the world that list themselves in these directories, and this is where I get a lot of my guests and other random places.
But people just emailing you now, probably.
I cannot tell you how many emails I get for people wanting to be on the show now. It is quite overwhelming. But and even in that, you know, I actually can pick up the energy in the words they use. And I think this is going to be my underlying message in our conversation already. I can pick up that words have energy. And it's something that you and I have spoken about quite a lot previously. And so you can tell by how people are pitching themselves, what they're leading with, whether they actually have a purpose, like they're mission driven, or whether it's just me, or money, money, money. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes.
And so by reading those words and picking up what's the underlying message, or reading between the lines that they're not actually saying, but it's there. And you're like, I can see what you're about. No, thank you. Or yes, I'm in. I'm all in.
Yes.
And so for me, that's how I do it. And I can tell you that when I choose someone and I've read their energy and I go, yep, that's them. I'm gonna invite them on the show. 100%. Nearly every time, the experience is exceptional. The people that show up and the energy and the connection, they can be thousands and thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, and it's like we are in the same room. And the amount of people who say to me, it feels like time stood still and that nothing else mattered and that I could just talk to you forever.
Oh, that's magic.
And I'm just like, and you know what those conversations are like, Amanda, don't you? It's like you go, oh, yeah, I felt that too. And you're lighting up with me talking right now. You're like, yeah, you're feeling it right now.
I am feeling it.
People pick up that energy and you've got to show up with it too, right? So you've got to meet them with that energy. And I think one of the things that I've loved about podcasting is that it's how you make them feel.
Yes.
The beginning to the end. You know, they show up, they might be a bit flat, they might be a bit nervous, they might not be, you know, this might not be their jam, but by the end of it, they're a completely different person. And they want to go and do it all over again.
Yeah, that's right. And that gives them the confidence to actually share their message, their truth, their light, doesn't it? When you've looked after them in that space and they feel more energized and they can go and share that with everybody else.
And it comes down to the basic human need that we all have. It's about being seen and being heard, you know?
Yes.
And when people can feel that and get that need met, wow, the conversations that we have and the whole energy changes. Like, and you pick that up when you then are a listener on the other side of that.
Yes.
Pick up that energy that's happening between those two people in that conversation, or if there's even more. It's incredible. It's a chemistry.
It is really, isn't it? Because you really want to keep listening. Really want to, it's like you're in on that conversation. You're sitting at that table with that group of friends.
Yeah.
And it's a nice chat. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I just want to jump in that conversation with them, you know, like I want to be sitting at that table too.
Yeah, exactly. Where's my cup of tea?
Yeah.
That's right. And I have to say, I have had that experience on the other side. Because we worked together on a podcast years ago, and I was very nervous because I had never been on a podcast before. So I can understand how it feels to be on the other side, be nervous. And as a guest and as you helping me with my podcast years ago, it is so essential, and you really do help people become really calm and at ease, and because you're so professional, because you've been doing this for so long. I mean, you started that other radio program like how long ago? 10, 15, I don't know. At
least 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, long time ago. So yeah. As somebody who's been on the other side, you really do guide that person through, and it's really nice.
It's almost like you become like as a host, for me, it's almost like you're going to laugh at this, but it's almost like you become this energy practitioner. Like you sit in and you're like, okay, I got you. It's all good.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I felt it. So yeah, it's really, really nice. So, you know, you have had all these conversations with people, like so many people all across the planet, from like Hollywood to outback Australia and everywhere in between. So, you know, you can really feel these people, you know, their energy. So how do you feel? Because I mean, you do interview some of the most amazing people across the planet,
Mm,
making change for, well, they're change makers, like you say.
mm.
So how do you feel the vibration of that business owner or that change maker affects the impact of the business then on other people?
Mm.
So the way that they're communicating, like, can you sort of see how some people are going to become very successful? Maybe not, like Oprah successful, but,
Mm.
like really make a change and where others won't. It is about the vibration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess if you retrofit it, if you look at some of the most successful people that I've spoken to around the world, and there's been hundreds, absolutely hundreds. One of the themes, and this is it, when you talk to so many people, you start to get these little nuggets. They're like, oh, yep, there's these themes that you pick up along the way. And it's like, oh, these are like little lessons in life I've picked up from hundreds of people around the world.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that they show up for themselves. These people invest in themselves.
Yeah.
I don't mean money wise, I'm talking holistic well being. They are people who take care of their physical, their mental, their emotional, and their spiritual well being. And so as a result, their vibration is so much higher and they glow. And so
Yeah.
the results in their business and the people that they work with or for, it just speaks for itself themselves. So on the flip side, when you look at people who don't show up for themselves, the results also speak for themselves. So those are people who don't show up for themselves or they don't take care of themselves and they are less balanced, they're less resilient.
Mm.
When you look at people who have a higher vibration, nothing phases them. Their
Yeah.
beliefs empower them. They can step through anything
Yeah.
and they make it a success. But on the flip side, you can't fake it to make it. It's one of those things you got to put in the work. And
Yes.
the vibration speaks for itself.
Yeah, it does. And then I guess, like we say, that vibration that goes out attracts that right people, that
Absolutely.
right community coming back at you as well and
Mm.
connecting with you then.
And if we go back to it, your last question about how I pick these people out, it's the same thing there, like
Mm.
I can pick up whether these people are legit and they actually have the success in their life and their business because I just see it like when I have those conversations, it's not just a podcast interview. I'm developing a relationship, a
Yeah.
connection. It's something more than just a single conversation. And most people who listen to my show don't understand that it goes beyond that conversation.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about investing in my show. It's about investing in me as a person and also investing in them. So that's me making that circle of energy come to life. So I want to do it with people who have that higher vibration. And that's how I can pick it up is through that intuition.
Yes. Yeah. So, so we're talking about how you speak about yourself,
Mm.
how, like, the vibration of those words. So, if anybody is listening to this and they're wanting to start getting their message out, so you got any advice for them?
Yeah, I guess when we look at a message and my day job as most people may know is in communications. So this is a no-brainer for me to do this kind of stuff. And I always rely on what we call the 3 C's. So there's the 3 C's of communication. Is it clear? Is it concise? And is it consistent? So if we do any kind of communication about ourselves as a person or a brand, we want to make sure that people know what we're talking about. We want to be clear.
Yes.
We want to make sure that it's concise. We don't want to ramble on. We want to get to the point. We want to know exactly what you want, what you're talking about. Be concise, get to the point. And then we want to be consistent. If you had a brand or there was someone famous that you followed and you follow them on one channel and then you go to another one and it's like completely different experiences in both spaces, you're going to be going, these people are all over the shop. What's going on here?
What are they talking about?
Who are they?
Yes.
So you want to make sure that wherever there is a touch point for you and your communication, it's there's no surprises. It's all a familiar, comfortable place to go, because then people are going to engage and go, oh yeah, no surprises here. This is exactly what I wanted. And so when you've got those 3 C's in place, it's also thinking about, what is my purpose? What is my why?
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanize with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered. Electricast.
Because you can have a message, but why? What do you want to put it out? What do you want to do with it? So really, if you know your why, the rest falls into place.
Yeah. Okay. So years ago, I met somebody at a retreat and they were very keen for me to go and do work with them. So, I Googled them. I couldn't figure out what it was that they did. So, of course, I never connected with them because I'm like, what are you doing? I don't actually understand it. There was nothing clear about it at all. So they're like, I want to work with you. Well, I need to know what that's going to be like, because you do, like, before you go and work with someone these days, you've Googled them, you've followed them on social media, you're actually, when you turn up, you already know you want that. You already know what they have to offer you, don't you? So, yeah.
And I had a perfect example of this today, Amanda. I also do narration work, as you know.
Yeah.
And so I have I'm listed with an agent in New Zealand. So I got an opportunity sent to me earlier this morning and I'm reading it and I'm like, but I don't know what it is. Like, what do you want from me? And I'm reading it and then they gave me a script and I'm like, yeah, but still, I don't get it. Like, what are you doing with this? And so my gut, I sat there and I went, when I get in those situations, I come back to my intuition and I go, hey, what is my gut telling me here? Should I go down this path and invest my time and effort in this, or just go, how's that feeling?
Yeah.
And so I stopped and I went, yeah, nah.
Because you didn't get that big full feeling to start with that went yes.
Yeah, I didn't get a hell yes. I got a
yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's right. And that's what we need to be trusting, isn't it? Our own feeling and our own intuition on that.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us something that you've manifested into your life by changing your vibration?
That's a good question. Well, there's so many things. I guess just in the last few years, you would have seen, Amanda, the things that I've manifested.
That's why I asked the question, because I thought it would be really interesting for everybody to hear some of these things.
Yeah, I guess for me, I wanted to manifest certain connections and opportunities, particularly in the podcasting world. And I currently am surrounded by a large group of psychics. I know that sounds funny, but there's a large group of psychics that surround me, and quite often I go to them for advice. But one in particular, she said to me, look, you really need to be very particular with what you want, because as soon as you ask for it, you will get it. And I was like, okay. So I thought, all right, let's just do a little practice. So what I did was, she said, okay, you need to write down specifically what it is you want. And so I did. I was very, very specific. I wrote it down to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Then what I did was I envisioned myself already there. So I embodied that like it was already here. And it was like, I'm a total nerd, right? So it was like I had researched every aspect of making that happen before it was here. It felt like it was already here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so within 3 months, it happened effortlessly. And I was like, really? Did that just happen? And it was actually a connection I was trying to make in Hollywood, but it was at a much higher level than I was expecting. And I was like, oh, that wasn't hard at all. And all I did was I followed the steps, but I was very intentional about it. Like I set an intention.
Yep.
And I stuck with it. But what I also did was like, I let it go. I let it out into the universe and I was like, I trust that this will happen. Like there's no other thought, no other opportunity, no other option, no other path to go down but this one.
And hold on to it.
No, I didn't freak out about it. I didn't
Yep.
wonder how. This is the whole thing is when people ask me how I do this, I'm like, don't worry about the how. It'll show up. Step by step will show up when it's ready. Don't worry about the how. Just worry about the end game, where you want to be and what you want.
Okay.
And when I did that, like it was almost like, again, a science that I'd worked out and went, well, yeah, okay, this works. And more recently, I got a new car. And the year before, I was like, God, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. Like, wow, mortgages are going up, all this stuff's going on. Geez, I don't. And listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to my mindset. Of course, you're going to get a new car with that mindset, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, okay, I want this. I want this exact thing. You know what, Amanda? That's sitting in my garage right now.
Yes, yes, I know.
You know it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I found a way. The way showed up for me. I just thought about what I wanted in the end. And it can be a material asset if you want. I haven't quite mastered the $1 million yet, but I haven't invested all the time and effort in it either. But,
yeah.
The other thing is that you've got to do the work. You've got to show up. You can't just go, oh, I want $1 million. Come to me now. It doesn't work like that. You have to be intentional. You have to really know what you want. And Oprah has a very famous quote about, I can't remember it word for word at the minute, but she has a very famous quote about, you're not going to know where you're going to go if you don't know the road. So,
yeah,
how can you want all these amazing things if you don't know exactly what it is?
Yes.
And so, if you can be crystal clear down to every single detail, you can smell it, you can touch it, you can feel it. You can embody that experience of already being there.
Created the intention and created the vibration, and that vibration is attracting it back to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is what I learned from psychics as well, is that I'm not going to give away a trade secret, but really that's part of their practice, is it's picking up that vibration and that intention and it's mirroring. So this is something that I've picked up over time and I go, okay, I see what you're doing here.
Lifted the veil, can see what's going on.
Yeah. So really, it's given me, I guess, huge exposure as well, and connections and all of those kind of things. Like I think it was in March this year, I was on the main stage at the Podcast Academy Awards, the Ambies in Las Vegas. Yeah. Here's little old me in Australia, being featured up on the big screen. I never would have thought that would have happened, but I had an intention.
I remember the America intention.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes. I had the intention. I did the work. I did what was asked. The universe asked of me to make that happen. And sure enough, I delivered the goods. So by doing this and showing up, doing the work, being intentional and trusting, it's amazing what you can make come to life.
Yes. And I also think too, it's not being holding on to, I have to have it in this time frame. Because
Exactly.
I actually remember that conversation about America.
Yep.
You saw the vision for it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you created the intentions, and you kept doing the work. You kept making those connections. And even though, it may have taken longer than you thought you might have liked it to be, it still came.
Mm. Mm.
And it might not look exactly like how you thought it was going to,
Mm.
but maybe it's better.
Yeah, and this is where you go, be careful what you ask for because you will get it. You will get it.
So be clear in your intentions,
Mm-hmm.
create really like crystal clear vibration in what it is that you want.
And just really tap into that. Ask yourself the questions. What does it feel like? Like, what are the details? Like, get down to that granular detail. Like all of the bits and pieces of what you want, because that's what you're going to get.
Yes. So say you want a new job, you could see yourself actually, am I catching public transport? Am I driving? See yourself actually doing it, arriving, I don't know, swiping your card or whatever it is that you do to get in the building, or all of those little pieces, and really feel it.
Yeah. And this is something you've really got to want. Don't push something that you don't want. Like you really have to feel this in your gut. Like don't push for something that you don't want. And I know that sounds silly, but
No,
some
because
people think they
sometimes
want certain things and they don't.
exactly, or it might be because someone said something,
Mm-hmm.
even 10 years ago.
And
You
again,
want
it
to
comes
show
back
up.
to your intuition. Like, what is your intuition telling you? Is it a hell yes or a hell no?
Yeah, I was actually listening to this another podcast where they were interviewing Guy Pearce,
Mm,
and he said he took a pause in his career because he had decided at 8 years old he wanted to be on the stage. And at 30, he said he needed to make that decision from a 30-year-old's perspective
mm,
and want, and is this what I really want, rather than just keep doing it because he made that decision, 20 something years before.
exactly. And this is the other thing is the conditioning that we get, through family, through our upbringing, is they tell us what we think we want. And then when we get to an age where we go, you know what, I've got a say in this now. What do I really want? And I
Yeah.
still remember the day you said to me, Bindi, what do you want? What do you really want? And I was like, I don't know. No one's ever asked me.
I'll have a think about it and get back to you.
And you know what I eventually said, Amanda? Do you remember?
Tell everybody.
I said, I want to talk to people for money.
There we go. And now you're doing it.
And now I do.
Yeah, but you also had a lot of experience building up to that moment as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It didn't just sort of fall out of the sky. You
Mm.
really had a lot of preparation with communication in even all of those jobs, from like when you left school,
Mm-hmm.
you were communicating with people in all of them. I know, because you've told me all the things that you've done, and it wasn't the job that you really wanted, and you didn't even know what that was then. But all of those things were preparing you for this.
It's funny how those little things that you think you don't love in your life are actually the things that support the things you do love in your life.
Yes.
And if you give them space, they can do amazing things.
Yeah. Like all of those jobs you had, you were communicating with people,
Yeah. Yeah.
working with other people. And, it might have not all been plain sailing, but you learnt what was right for you and what wasn't right for you, which is all part of the process.
And it's funny because it's almost like I live two lives currently. So I have my corporate day job, and then I have this podcast world that sits around it. And it's funny because one sometimes informs the other. And I'll be in a very stuffy corporate government meeting, and the lessons of life from all the people around the world have come to visit me and give you some wisdom. Here we go.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very cool.
Yeah, because you have such different experiences in everything, and then you bring it all together, and that's where it all makes such a beautiful experience, really. And you really do know you're on the right path then.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. That was so cool. So for everybody, it's creating the intention, getting really into the detail, writing it down, and being clear that it's what you want, that it's made from who you are now, not some old dusty idea or inherited from other people. And then letting it go and trusting. Have the vibration that it's already here right now.
And the way will find you.
It's very profound.
Told you I was full of wisdom.
Oh, okay. So I want to ask you one more thing. So you've kind of been weaving around it. So what impact has experiencing sound therapy or using sound therapy instruments, because I know you've got a few, had for you? What sort of ways it assisted you, do you think?
Wow. It's been life-changing for me. I think I nearly had to pay you rent. I was at your place so many times, Amanda. But for me, it has unlocked parts of me I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And that's a big self-awareness piece. And it really helped me to accelerate a healing that I really needed at that time, because it's really set me up for where I am now. As much as I don't think about it, it's true. Also the release of physical and emotional pain. Like there were times I came to you and I went, "Man, my back really hurts." She'd be like, "Okay, get out the drum. Here we go."
Yeah, that's right.
Moments later, it was gone. I was like, "Man, that stuff's magic." And I got this, talking about this awareness, but I kind of now have this ability to feel what's going on in my body. Like if we look at the physiology of what we feel, whether it's emotions or whatever, and what that then translates to in what's really going on in your life. So as you would remember, I had a bad habit of holding a lot of things in my solar plexus.
Yep.
And sometimes I still do. But when you can let go of that, oh my gosh, it is the greatest freedom, like letting go of that stuff. And then, using tuning forks myself, again, it helps with that release of, any physical or emotional pain you're hanging on to.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the things I remember the most in, I don't know whether it was the first session or many of the sessions that I had with you, was that I found a peace. Like at the other side, there was this peace and this lightness, like this weight was lifted off you. And many times I can remember saying to you, "Oh man, I feel so much lighter."
Yes.
Like
emotions feel heavy.
yeah, you let go of this weight of this heaviness. And, it was like this lightness that I'd never experienced before. And I was like, wow, that stuff's like a drug. It's pretty good.
And it's not as expensive or bad for your health.
Yeah, right.
Lasting, yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty life-changing. And I think if I was to give anyone any advice around that, it's just try it, do it, get curious, and just be open to it. Like, just let go, because it's going to be the greatest thing you ever do.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Sometimes we can be a bit afraid of what's on the other side because we're so used to having that habit or thought loop or body pain or who will I be if I don't have that?
Yeah.
If I don't have that conflict with my family, how do I identify myself, So it's so true. And you and I have both been there too, where it's like, oh, I don't know, this this feels uncomfortable, but on the other side, it just feels free.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute release. And yeah, I think, getting back to some of the stuff I was talking about earlier around higher vibration and that whole well-being, I think to show up as a whole human, it's one of the ways that you can show up for yourself and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
To let go of the stuff that's giving you resistance and holding you back. And it actually makes you more resilient for the things that you're going to face in the future.
It really does. Yeah.
I'm finding that. Yeah.
Being able to move through things and regulate your emotions. I find especially like with the sound instruments too, because you don't need to even talk about it.
Yeah.
You can just, whether it's your singing bowl, your drum, your tuning fork, and you can use it privately. It doesn't have to be talking to anybody else, and it does bring a really nice calmness.
Yeah, it's so funny that you don't need words, but it is the sound, it is the vibration, isn't it? It's
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Now, I don't know whether anybody has heard, but through this recording, you may have heard my poor little pup barking in the background because he's not allowed to run up and down stairs because he's had a little operation. So Bindi, he's probably heard Bindi's voice too, because he used to come and visit Bindi.
Yeah.
So, and he's a great lover of tuning forks. You get a tuning fork out and he just looks at you with these big eyes like, okay, I'm first. So
we love our dogs. Yeah. He heard I was here.
Yeah. And we both use our sound instrument for our pups as well.
Yeah. As they age, they do like that little bit of comfort. So they pick up on it, and they pick up on our energy too.
Yeah, they do.
It's incredible. And sound, I think, is a really important thing for dogs. Even though they lead with their nose, their ears are their second thing,
Yes.
And it's funny because my little Lola. Yes. She last night I was doing some baking, Amanda. Stop the press. I was doing some baking. And
you are a good cook though. I've eaten your food.
I set the timer, and the alarm went off for the timer, and she jumps out of bed and she's going, "What's going on? Time to get it out of the oven." Any alarm that goes off, any noise, even the phone, she's like, "What's going on? You need to check that."
Yep.
She's on it.
Come on, Mum.
Yep. They know this stuff.
They do. Yeah, they do. Okay, so if anybody wants to get in contact with Bindi, know more about Bindi, listen to some of her amazing podcast episodes, all of her information will be in our show notes. And is there maybe one last thing, anything you want to say just to wrap up about communication and vibration? Little word of wisdom?
It's funny you asked me that because it sounds very similar to another podcast, I know. But I was recently, and this is what I love about what I do, is I can just go, I was talking to someone and we were talking about, now I was talking to someone recently who was a singer, and part of what they do is they communicate through song. And the question I posed to them was, if you had one message for the world, what would it be? And that was kind of where I left it. I was like, if you think about that as your one sole thing you share with the world, what would it be?
Wow.
Profound, right?
It is, yes. So we can all have a think about that now. Is it?
So I'm going to pose another question rather than actually answer that. And it is that, what is your message? Go out, find it, share it.
That is magic, Bindi. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been amazing.
It has been a very, very great conversation. And we might have you again some other time and go deeper into this, I think.
Anytime. I'm always here.
Thanks, Bindi. And next week, Steve and I are back in the studio to discuss vibrational healing beyond tuning forks. Until then, take care and tune in to your sound well-being.
Welcome to Ringside with Ray and Prince. My name is Ray Leonard Jr.
Oh, is that the set? No, that's just my dad.
My name is Prince Daniels Jr.
Daniels again with a big home touchdown.
On this show, we come to humanize
Athletes, entertainers, business executives. We're going to see what makes them tick.
Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll see you there. Peace and power.
Electricast. Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baklaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electricast production.
See you there.
Electricast. Electricast.